Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, how's it going, folks? Welcome to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and whoop boy, let me just see, is everything in sync? Just want to know with the visual audio thing going on. Okay, it looks better on my end. Hopefully it will. Like, I know just in case, like, you guys in the chat wall will remind me, if everything is in sync or if it's off. Let's see. Oh, okay. It is a bit off, so, alright. Oh, and I got a subscriber. Okay, so, oh, thank you very much, Daniel is the Vasquez, for that little subscription there, and if you guys would like to go and subscribe onto my Twitch for this, then you're more than welcome to do so. I'll even give you a little bit of a shout out. Alright, so, okay, so it looks like, we're all good here. It looks like everything is fine with this setup. Alright, sorry for that little delay. Yes, welcome, folks, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and hopefully all of your quarantines are doing pretty well so far. Hopefully you guys are keeping yourselves safe during this crazy time. I know that I'm taking all the precautions necessary to keep myself safe and to keep myself healthy at all times. But for this one, though, considering that we are all together, we're all stuck in our homes, and we're all stuck in quarantine, I decided, you know what, for this episode in particular, why don't we go and make this one a little bit more special? So I decided to go and bring in a guest with me. Now, this is not necessarily someone that you may immediately know, but this is actually a longtime buddy of mine. This is also someone who is a longtime patron of mine. In fact, this is actually the person whom just recently this week has requested me to do a very special review dedicated to the singing career of Paige O'Hara. So please welcome, folks, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, someone who hasn't been here in a long time, so welcome back, Tyler Bio Rodriguez. Tyler, what is up, my dude?
Well, we're taping this thing live from the center of the North American experience that is going through the best game of Plague Inc. Evolved I've seen in years.
Yeah, I know. It's been pretty nuts so far, and okay, I think I just fixed the visual thing on my end, but yeah, I know. It has been nuts, but so far, have you been keeping yourself good during this time?
Oh yeah, I've been, I have to work in like a retail place, so I have to work with people all the time, but every day I'm like, oh boy, it's like, okay, here's the 5 minutes later, oh boy, it's intense, I'll put it that way.
Oh, I could definitely imagine. I even got friends who are working in grocery stores and in retail, and it's been going a lot more insane for them. Like, it's been pretty off the wall, so I definitely sympathize with you there. But at least we can now go and take a good break with this episode where we could talk about movies and stuff. So, Tyler, are you ready for today's episode?
Yeah, I sure am.
Alright, that's good. Chat wall, are you ready to get things started with this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Folks, let me go and hear it. Are we ready? Alright, let's see. Yes. Okay, people are ready. That is perfect. That is great to hear. So with all that said and done, now that people are all ready for this, let's go ahead and get things started. And with our first story, I might as well go and start things off by talking about what we have seen this week in terms of the effect that the coronavirus pandemic is putting on in terms of movies. Because this week, we have seen a pretty big and massive trend of studios putting out their movies that they have released in 2020 so far onto digital, and so many movies have done so. We have seen Warner Brothers doing it with Birds of Prey. We have seen Paramount doing it with Sonic the Hedgehog. We have seen Sony doing it with Bloodshot, and even Disney is actually putting out Onward, not only on digital, but in a few weeks, actually, I believe it's April 3rd, or in the beginning of April, they're also going to put Onward onto Disney+. You've heard of that, of course, right, Tyler?
Oh, of course, I got a subscription to it, also known as the Mandalorian subscription.
Yeah, for me it is the Mandalorian and Imagineering story subscription for me. So, well, and also looking at the animated shorts, those are always fun to check out.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to like about it, but it's, what can I say? This is the way.
This is the way, of course. And on top of that, though, what we are going to look into specifically, though, is going to be regarding Universal, because they're doing something a little bit more differently. Now, of course, they have delayed a few of their movies, one of which in particular is Fast and Furious 9, which they are delaying it by a whole year, but also they're putting out a lot of their movies onto digital that they just recently released, like Emma, The Hunt, and what else? The Invisible Man, of course. But then there's one film in particular that they are really going to experiment, and not only are they doubling down on its release, but they're going to try to do something that is very unique. And what I'm talking about, of course, is Trolls World Tour. Yes, not only is Universal still keeping Trolls World Tour to be released in theaters on April 10th, but on the same day, they're also going to go and release it digitally. I even got, well, actually beforehand, if you want to know a little bit more info with what they're going to do with it, I'm just going to read a little bit from my source here from Variety, as it states, right here, actually. The film will be available for a 48-hour rental period as a suggested retail price of $19.99 in the US and for roughly the same price in international markets. The announcement is a blow to movie theaters, which have long resisted any attempts to shorten the amount of time that movies are available exclusively on the big screen. We also got a little bit of a quote here coming from Jeff Shell, of the CEO of NBC Universal, as he states, Universal Pictures has a broad and diverse range of movies, with 2020 being no exception. Rather than delaying these films or releasing them into a challenged distribution landscape, we wanted to provide an option for people to view these titles in the home that is both accessible and affordable. We hope and believe that people will still go to the movies in theaters where available, but we understand for people in different areas of the world that is increasingly becoming less possible. And before anything, I just want to make a quick comment about this. I'll be honest, doesn't that sound a little bit douchey coming from Jeff Shell? I don't know about you, but I feel like this comment over here that he made, it's like he has no regard over people's health, especially when he states like, oh, we hope that people will still be watching movies in theaters, but if you don't, we understand. It's like, it sounds like he's not doing it for the health and safety of others, but more he wants to do it just, like, he's not hiding it that he's just doing it for the money, don't you think?
Oh yeah, but on a scale of GameStop to Disney, it's certainly closer to GameStop.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just like he didn't comment on anyone's health. It sounds like he's putting the movies out digitally because of a necessity. It's just like he noticed there's just this minor inconvenience that a lot of movie theaters are closed down, like all around the world even. So he has no choice but to do so in order to find profitability. Like, not even a single mention about the health and safety of others whatsoever. But that's not necessarily the point of what I want to talk about. I just wanted to make a quick dumb comment on that. But the main thing is regarding what Trolls World Tour is doing, which, I don't know if it has happened before. Well, I know there might have been with, like, limited release theaters, but this is the first time, or at least in a long time, that we are seeing a major movie in which it is coming out not only in theaters, but also on digital, that people could watch it at home on the same day. Like, that does seem like a major gamble that Universal is doing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's the close example of that is probably The Little Prince, but that was still kind of an indie film. For a major film, it's that you only have two options at this point. It's either delay and hope people still want your movie, or go directly to video on demand now and hope the anticipation was high enough that people will buy it. There's like no other choice now.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is that this is all like a major gamble that that Universal is doing with Trolls, right?
Absolutely, it's a gamble. You could do like with the Fast and the Furious and just push it back a year, and hopefully get hype back up again after this disease is thankfully over. But or you can just go now and try to do like the Netflix thing of just rush it, get stuff on, money, hope that works.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with you there. And also, what I am curious about is, do you believe that, like, with this risk, do you think it's going to work? Do you think that there will be people out there that will really buy into Trolls World Tour, and that they would go and, like, probably, like, this could probably cause a change in the landscape of movies as we know it?
I think Trolls is a pretty good gamble because of it being a family film. As the family's got to put on something for the kids now that they're stuck with them for months on end, and they're going through Frozen 2 right now on Disney Plus, and this will probably be something because I know how popular the first Trolls movie was. That will probably be a successful gamble, but if something like the Bloodshot movie that's coming out, I can't see that being a hit. But then again, I couldn't see that being a hit in theaters at all, so maybe that was just a dead weight film to begin with. On the subject of if this would actually change the industry, it maybe could, because I have been seeing release dates for films has been getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Like, fun fact, when the 2010 Alice of Wonderland film came out, there were apparently protests in France that the movie was coming out too soon after its March release date. I think that came out in like, I don't know, like August or something like that. And some people thought that was too soon. And now you got movies coming out 3 months afterwards, sometimes 2 months. It's getting shorter and shorter to the point where direct to video on demand could be a possible future.
Yeah, well, honestly, if I may put my piece onto this, I feel like this is kind of a 50-50. Like, if I would answer that question, I would be both yes and no. Because I would say yes, because if this is successful, then this would definitely change the landscape of movies as we know it. Like, not only during this time of the coronavirus, but even long afterwards, where it's definitely going to change people and the public's perspective on how we would go and consume movies. So this is probably the way that we will see it more often, that we're going to have these digital rentals and these big screenings happening both at the same time. That could be a massive possibility. But then again, I do disagree, because if there is going to be a movie that will make that big change, I highly doubt Trolls World Tour would be the one that would do this. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Trolls is not a big hit. Like, I understand why DreamWorks would want to go and do a sequel to Trolls, but I don't necessarily see it as the big one that's really going to change things for movies everywhere. Like, this is not, like, Trolls World Tour doesn't sound like the movie that's going to be the one that will be, like, history in the making. Now, I definitely do agree with your argument about families and stuff. Like, it really does make sense, especially with the $20 price, because it's like, I know it sounds pretty expensive to just rent a movie for 48 hours for $20, but you got to keep in mind, for families, that is extremely cheaper than to bringing them into the theaters. Like, to spend the money on the gas to go to the movie theater, to spend the money on each ticket for not just yourself, but also for the kids. Then you got to spend more money on popcorn and little snacks and stuff like that. And that's just for, like, not even for a rental. That's just literally for just one viewing. So for families, that's really a bargain. And I could definitely see it be profitable there. But to really make a big change, that I highly doubt, because if it were something like, in the veins of something like, if it were Fast 9, like, if Universal did not delay Fast and Furious 9, or if MGM did not delay No Time to Die, then that would definitely be something that people would really hop onto the rentals, that they would go and spend it digitally, because those are very highly anticipated movies, where that is definitely going to be changing the landscape. Trolls World Tour, however, it's going to be hard for me to imagine. I'm sure it could it could have some profitable results for Universal, but I don't really see that as some kind of, like, I don't see it as the movie that would start a groundbreaking movement. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, the original Trolls was kind of almost like a surprise hit because I don't know any critics that actually liked that movie.
Then again, like, well, actually, there's someone in the chat wall that did actually state it best. It wasn't even that big of a hit. It's more just Can't Stop the Feeling that was a bigger hit than anything. Because, like, one person in the chat wall stated, the original Trolls made $346.9 million against a $125 million budget. That's not a big, that's not a big hit. That's just like mildly profitable for not Universal, for DreamWorks Animation. But
Universal
still,
now.
yeah, like a lot of the thing is with Trolls, a lot of the success does come from the merchandising and of course the soundtrack with Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop the Feeling. So from there, like that's kind of the bigger reason why that thing became a hit. So in terms of the movie itself, it's gonna be hard to imagine if there are gonna be people that would really want to go and like check out the sequel for themselves.
Yeah. Although I do see a lot of kids asking for it because they really like that first movie, and oh man, that song. Yeah, the retail place I work at, they play that on the intercom almost every day.
Oh yeah, like that's
I
one.
know that song.
Oh yeah, like that's probably one of like alongside Happy and Let It Go. That like I Can't Stop the Feeling is one of the biggest songs that came from an animated film of the past decade. So and that that's exactly what I'm saying is that it like Can't Stop the Feeling is definitely much more successful than Trolls World Tour. Now I'm not saying that this is not going to be successful for Universal. I'm sure this is going to be a hit, and like you said, there will be families that would really want to go and see Trolls World Tour. But I just highly doubt if this is, like, what I'm saying is, I highly doubt this is going to be the big game changer for movies everywhere. We need to wait until there's this one highly anticipated film that would do so. Like, even, like, I feel like there would be a better chance for Disney to actually do something like that. Like if they would go and do it for something like Soul per se, or like one of their, or if they would do that for one of their Marvel movies, then that would be the point where we would see a major game changer happening. But for now with this, I don't know. Like it is going to be a hit. People will definitely buy it, but it's just we're like don't expect that to really change the landscape in movies.
Yeah, I think it could be maybe if this is a hit and a couple other films down the line are a hit, maybe it'll change system, but it won't do it on its own.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Trolls is not going to do it on its own. I think Universal, like, if they are committed to actually doing it, if they are committed to keep going with Trolls, then they'll have to try it with a few more movies, and then the other film, and then we'll see if there are going to be other studios that will take notice. And especially during this time, like, probably if there is one counter argument to what I've just said, is that we are at a moment where studios are definitely going to be desperate to jump ship and, like, you know, they're going to be desperate to go and follow the bandwagon, especially what we have seen this week, where it didn't take long for studios to immediately decide that they're going to go and release a lot of the movies that they've recently released so far onto digital. Like, put up stuff that I've recently just mentioned, like with Birds of Prey, Bloodshot, Sonic the Hedgehog, Onward, and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you could even make a better argument. Onward could be the one that sparks this change more than Trolls World Tour, because if Disney looks at the profits of Onward when it hits video on demand and it's making more money than it did on theaters, maybe they'll consider them to do another risky venture. Maybe, like you said, with Soul.
That could be true, actually, because there have been some positive word of mouth coming from Onward, despite the fact that there's also some that do, some like myself that say that it's not necessarily Pixar's best. But there is, like, if like, the fact that Disney is doing this, then maybe we could see a bigger deal coming from Onward. But then again, Onward has already been released in theaters. I mean, like, the movement of, like, what Trolls World Tour is doing. Like, literally releasing their movie onto the big screen and on digital at the exact same time. Like, that's the gamble that we are talking about. And like I said, Universal pretty much has no choice but to do so, considering that most movie theaters are closed anyways, so it's not like they have a place to go and show it, so they got to put it up on digital.
Yeah, and it's about Onward. It's not the best film ever. I mean, I remember some people even said it deserves to be direct to video. I wouldn't go that far,
No.
but it's not terrible. It's better than the rip-off version that probably came out this week called Homeworld, starring Tom
Homeworld.
Green, because apparently that exists.
Yeah, the freaking Homeward thing. I remember talking about it in my I remember talking about it here a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, that thing, like that is like the reason why it exists is because of that Saber Sparks video, because Saber Sparks did recently do a review of that thing, and I think like Saber Sparks took the bait, and he pretty much created why that thing exists in the first place. It's for reviewers to bash on it, to hate on it, because it's an obvious Onward ripoff and all that stuff.
Yeah, back in the day, we'd have called it pewter bait. Now it's just simply critic bait.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing with it. But yeah, but probably one bigger question is regarding you, Tyler. Would you want to buy Trolls World Tour when it comes out on digital?
Well, I've seen the original Trolls. I cannot say I like the original Trolls. I saw it as the antithesis to Inside Out, with a really, really kind of slanted psychological message that didn't really gel well with me, and I thought the animation was too colorful, and just, it's twee. I can't say anything other way than that. It's twee.
So I'll take that as a no.
No, I cannot see more adventures with Poppy and whatever the other character's name was.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say, for me, I know that I have no choice on the matter. I gotta do it, like, I am gonna review it after all, so I gotta check, so I do have to go and, like, rent it for myself, go see the, like, I have to see the movie somehow. It's not like I can go to the big screen. I can't go to cinemas because they're all closed, so I have no choice in this case, but oh, excuse me. If I do have the choice, however, if it's just for the sake of myself, I wouldn't, because I'm not that big of a fan of Trolls myself. Like, I'm not really that interested, so like if it weren't for the review, then I would just give it a pass. That's why I expressed that I do have my doubts if this thing would be groundbreaking. I won't deny it will be successful, but not groundbreakingly successful.
Yeah, I can't say I'm gonna recommend this movie. Not that maybe the reviews will be good or bad. I don't know, but I can't say recommend it. Of all the films that are being pushed to video on demand, the one I'd recommend the most is, ironically enough, the Invisible Man movie. That is actually legitimately very good.
Yeah, I actually did hear a lot of really positive things coming from the Invisible Man. So we'll see how that goes. Now,
yeah. And I have to mention this. The extra, just for comedic value, we gotta talk about the fact that The Hunt's being put on video on demand. That amuses me to no end, because that movie was supposed to come out like July last year, and then got canceled due to political controversy, and then they came back in March like, aha, we're back, you can't cancel us, man. Oh, then the virus canceled them again.
Yeah, honestly, looking at that, I would have to say that like with the whole Hunt scenario, I remember Double Toasted talking about it, and they said it best, that it was all not a political, but it was all a publicity stunt. Like, it was so obviously a publicity stunt, and that many people took the bait on it to make it all political and stuff like that.
It's not even like an interview level bait. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But for those of you who are interested in having Trolls World Tour, then all you have to do is just wait until April 10th, where you now have the choice to either see it on the big screen, on a big screen that would actually be open during that time, or check it out onto digital. So, with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and it's time that I would like to ask you all, what do you all think about Trolls World Tour releasing it on digital on the same day as its big screen debut? Would you be interested in checking out? Do you think it's going to be an amazing idea? Do you think this is going to change the landscape of movies everywhere? Let me know what you all think now. Okay, so, let's see over here. I know some people who have already seen Trolls World Tour due to the film being leaked, but this is actually a fairly decent idea. Over here, I have to be quarantined for up to 4 months, and my exams have been canceled. So I have to keep myself entertained somehow, and I don't want to take the risk. But what's next? Is Scoob and Sponge on the Run gotta be given the same treatment? Is there a reason why we haven't gotten any details? We haven't got any details on the Bob's Burgers movie. Well, I mean, in this case, with the whole pandemic, the best thing to do in this case is just, we have to take it one step at a time. Like, honestly, we don't know how it's going to be. We don't know if this is going to be either weeks or months. So we can't necessarily predict the future. And the best thing we got to do is just go and take it one step at a time. That's honestly the best thing we can do, and that's why these companies are pretty much taking it one step at a time and are acting what would be like the best case scenario to do right now. So honestly, for that, I would have to say, in terms of Scoob and Sponge on the Run, I don't know, because it is still pretty far. Like, both of them are going to be released sometime in the middle of May.
I do get the argument also that it's just something to watch because there's not much to do at the moment. I fully understand that, because every day on Netflix I'm just scanning by like, come on, something good, something good, something good. Oh, this is terrible, this is terrible. I even found out today that the famous Ken Burns documentary about baseball, that's 20 hours long, is free on Amazon. I'm like, oh hey, something to do, because no joke, people are starting to now experience cabin fever. And as that song said, it's burning in my brain, it's driving me insane.
We simply got banana. Yep. Oh my god, I love that song. Alright, let's see here. Trolls is one of my favorite DreamWorks movies, so I am excited for the movie, and hearing that it will be available to rent digitally during the pandemic is a win in my opinion. Though they should have delayed the movie to July in place of Minions 2, since that is going to be delayed as well. Well, I mean, like they're just starting to do it, so we will have to see if that even is a good idea. So like I said, like, we can't like think way too ahead, so like they're just doing it because like it's better safe than sorry, because we never know if they really are moving. Like, we never know if this pandemic is even going to go forward, like even after July.
Yeah, you have no idea how long this could go on. Judging by history, they can go anywhere between a couple months to a couple years. There's just no way to tell.
Yeah, true. Let's see. I think this is a bad idea for DreamWorks for putting Trolls World Tour on digital and limited release. Well, they didn't state it would be just limited release. True, it will be a hit for streaming services, but not for DreamWorks, because you can't make a profit from digital from a movie that has a $125 million budget. Okay, hold on a sec. Time out. I just would like to clarify right now, before any speculations would go, there is no confirmed budget on Trolls World Tour. That is, like, the $125 million budget, that's just on the first Trolls. We don't know if it's the same case with Trolls World Tour, so I just need to go and clarify that. Look at the interview. It was a hit in limited theaters and streaming services, but due to its big budget, it made Sony lose a lot of money. Okay. Let's see.
That was a unique incident, though. That's kind of hard to replicate.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. It's like we can't, like, this is a kind of pandemic that does happen a few times in the world. In the case of the interview and the whole Sony hack, that is a very, very unique thing. I don't know if we would ever see that kind of thing happen again, especially to a major studio.
Oh, I doubt it. And also, I don't see a whole country rallying behind it. Yeah, we gotta watch Trolls World Tour to support freedom. I don't see that happening.
We need to support America. We need to fight the enemy. That's why we gotta watch Trolls World Tour.
Yeah, Poppy gotta save her day. Whoa.
Poppy is America. All right, let's see. Trolls doesn't excite me, but I might consider getting Sonic on digital since I surprisingly enjoyed it. If this and Onward are successful, maybe canceled movies like Minions, Rise of Gru, and Mulan 2020 can follow in their footsteps. Well, maybe we'll see when it comes to the delayed movies, especially something like Mulan or New Mutants. Minions Rise of Gru, well, that's going to be another story that we will talk a little bit later. We need to save that thing.
And New Mutants, oh boy, that's a very special movie because we're approaching Don Quixote levels of like repeated cancellation.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. I just say that it's just say this is not really happening. Just say this is not really helping all the movies out there with the Wuhan virus going on. Okay, hold on. Time out. In here, we are not going to be calling it either the Chinese virus or the Wuhan virus, okay? We're not referring to that because that is racist. I don't care what ethnicity you are. I don't care who you voted for. If you call it either the Wuhan virus or the Chinese virus, then I'm calling you out as racist. So nope, don't do that.
Yeah, the World Health Organization recommended that you don't do that because that singles out a country and its people. The only slight wiggle room is diseases from hundreds of years ago that were retroactively called that, like a Spanish flu, but even that's kind of arguable. But don't do that. Just call it the coronavirus or COVID-19 or the virus.
Yeah, exactly. Or the pandemic. Especially when nowadays, like you got racists and white nationalists and like just white supremacists all around, even calling it the Chinese virus just to enforce their racism onto others. So don't do that. Anyways, going on here, going on with this comment. I managed to see Onward before the whole situation. Were planning to go for my birthday this Wednesday, but they say it was kind of worth it. But if this keeps on going, movies going to digital, especially to Disney, then it's the early 1950s all over again, like with the Three Caballeros or Fun and Fancy Free. Well, I don't think it's going to be that bad. All right, I'll go and read one more before we move on to our next story. I understand why Universal is doing this, and I think it is a good idea for them. And I'm happy that more people are seeing movies like this, Invisible Man, Onward, and Birds of Prey, without risking getting sick. But I also don't want theaters to go away. I know this sounds elitist of me, but I do love theaters, and many independent theaters do need our help in times like this, like many other small businesses. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy the big, I do enjoy the big screen experience. Like, until the day comes when I am rich and I could afford to actually build like an entire big screen onto my own home, then in the meantime, I'm gonna go and support my local movie theater and like check movies out on the big screen because like the experience also helps enhance the mood,
Oh yeah. So what are you gonna call your personal system? The Celine Dion Memorial Theater?
No, that's gonna be my aunt who's gonna call it that. I don't know. Man, that is a good question. Oh no, you know what? No, I'm gonna take AMC. Actually, I'm just gonna call it. Yeah, I'm gonna call it like the AMC theater, but it's gonna be the AniMat's Cinema Theater. There we go.
That's awesome.
I can have my own AMC at home. All right.
Yep, just don't forget to do nothing but commercials for The Walking Dead.
Oh god, yeah, that and Better Call Saul. And always show the same movies over and over again, like The Green Mile and The Book of Eli.
Independence Day.
And Independence Day and The Book of Eli, of course.
Yep.
Alright, so with that said, now let's go and jump onto our next story, which in this case is going to be a little bit of a bonus miscellaneous. Because while there are companies out there that are putting out their latest films onto digital a lot earlier than planned, there are also, like, these same companies at the same time, they're still doing their old tricks by delaying some of their movies. But in this case, what I'm going to be talking about over here, this will definitely have a lot of major long-term consequences. And what I'm going to be talking about is related to Black Widow. Yes, Disney has revealed that they are going to be delaying Black Widow, along with a couple of other movies as well. Black Widow was supposed to be released on May 1st, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, along with a few other movies, including The Personal History of David Copperfield from their Searchlight banner, and also one of their 20th century movies, The Woman in the Window, which both of them were supposed to be released on May 8th and April 15th, respectively. Now, this is actually the second time that Disney took a bunch of their big movies and they decided to delay it because of this pandemic. Not long ago, they actually decided to do the same thing with a few other movies as well, including Mulan, The New Mutants, and Antlers. But the big thing to go and emphasize really is Black Widow, because this is the first time that now a major superhero movie has been delayed, which in this case is a Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, Tyler, what do you think about that one? Are you a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, by the way?
I am. I have seen all the films. I've liked some of them. I've I won't say hated, but I've liked some a little bit less. I've kind of checked out a little bit since Infinity War, or sorry, Endgame, because I don't know, I'm the sort of guy that always likes to have a decent ending and not just go on forever and ever and ever, to quote Orson Welles. But this film has interested me because it's both a prequel and also, okay, how many, it's been almost a year since Endgame came out. Are spoilers allowed or not?
Hold on a sec. Chat wall, I would like to ask you, is it okay if Tyler could get into spoilers for Endgame? Are you okay with that? Just want to clarify, because it's almost going to be a year since the movie will be released, so, let's see, are people... Okay. Yeah, a lot of people are actually
yes.
okay. So, but beforehand, I just want to say, for those of you who are listening or watching this in the future, just want to make a big clarification. If you don't want any spoilers, then slightly skip ahead a little bit so that you can go and avoid them, or just cover your ears or anything like that. So, anyways, Tyler, proceed.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll just do thumbs up when the that's all done, just so everyone can do, even with the muting. But, okay. The thing I find very interesting about this movie is it's either a prequel with not much purpose, or it's a blatant spoiler, because the very middle section of Endgame, they killed off Black Widow. So making a prequel about her seems kind of superfluous, other than they want to make a female-led superhero movie, although they already did that with Captain Marvel. They probably should have done this movie sooner than Endgame. Or, again, it's like Spider-Man... the recent Spider-Man movie, where it's like its existence was kind of a spoiler that Spider-Man's not going to be dead forever. So it's one of those two.
Yeah, but then again, I would actually argue that one thing I do know in the case of Black Widow is that this has been long demanded by fans. So if anything, Marvel is pretty much doing it in order to, like, please them. This is like their one final moment in order to fully go and do so, because Black Widow died in the middle of the movie, in the middle of Endgame, so they wouldn't necessarily have any other opportunities to do so afterwards. So in this case, this would be like their one big shot in order to go and do so, especially if they want to find a way to have Black Widow contribute to the next big phase in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, this is their only time to do so, and in order to deliver what fans have been demanding for so long.
Oh yeah, and I get that, because I like Black Widow as a character. I get why there was a demand for it. She's not my favorite female character from the Marvel Universe. That would be Peggy Carter, but she's not going to get her own movie, so whatever, I get that. But they should have done this sooner. They probably should have done this after, like, the first Avengers, when they kind of tacked a little bit about her backstory, but then just never kind of went into it. Or maybe after Avengers, what was it? Ultron, Age of Ultron, where they did, again, a little bit of her backstory. Should have been back then, instead of right after the big movie where she died.
Right. Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, have her contribute more to the first story than to, like, find a way to cram her in onto the next story, in a sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Although,
again, all this being said, it still could be a good movie because it has Rachel Weisz in it and a talented cast and crew. So I'm like, it still could be an enjoyable movie. I just not fully sure what its purpose is beyond pleasing fans that probably should have got this years ago.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I think what the big thing about what we are talking about, like in the case of Black Widow, is like we're not talking about the movie itself, but the fact that it is being delayed. I think this really does present the long-term consequences of how the coronavirus is affecting the movie industry. Because of the fact that they are delaying something like Black Widow, they're not just delaying one of the movies, they're delaying the whole cinematic universe. And this is not the only one that's going to be put to a halt, because we also know that production has halted onto many of the Disney Plus shows, specifically the ones that are more geared towards Marvel, because in the next big phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they want to have a lot of the Disney Plus shows be connected with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if you want the full story of it, then you have to also watch these Disney Plus shows like WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki as well. Like, they want to have all that be connected so that people can have a much bigger picture. But now that is halted, and Black Widow is halted, meaning that now the entirety of the cinematic universe has pretty much been delayed.
Yeah, and that is pretty catastrophic. The series, it runs on clockwork. It's one of the things that I respected the most about the series, that they keep it going, they keep it going. I know some things will get pushed around a little bit, but they just keep it going. The fact that this disease is halted the entire process is pretty bad, and I can't imagine that Disney was happy to do this. I'm sure they were fighting to the last minute to not delay this movie and those productions.
Yeah, and what about Eternals? I think, well, Eternals for now is pretty much safe, but for a Marvel fan like you, for someone who does follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe, do you think all this, like the whole coronavirus situation and the fact that they have to delay like the shows and right now like even the release of the movies, do you think is going to put a wrench onto the whole cinematic universe?
It could temporarily put a wrench onto things, which will anger fans to no end, but they can't really do anything about it. I mean, I don't think this is the movie that Disney would risk putting video on demand, because it's such a, it's an anticipated movie. It stars one of the biggest characters they have made in the entire universe. Marvel universe, of course. But I don't think they're going to risk that, so they're just going to delay it, and that's going to push everything back, because then you got to, what was it, the Shang-Chi, I think the movie is, after
that's another one that got delayed as well. Shang-Chi, the production of that is also delayed right now. But, but also just thinking about it though, we just talked about the thing with Trolls World Tour, in which that movie is going to be released both digitally and on the big screen at the same time. Do you think you couldn't see Disney possibly doing the same thing with Black Widow? Should they have done that instead?
Like I said, that's a gambled risk, because I'm like, it could pay off or it could not. And with something as big as Marvel, Disney doesn't take a ton of risks. I want to say the riskiest they ever got was probably just Guardians of the Galaxy, and that paid off dividendly. But beyond that, they've been very safe when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it's their big cash crop, really. Yeah, compared to Star Wars, which has ups and downs, and the Pixar and Disney, it's consistently made billions of dollars, and they wouldn't want to mess with that at all.
Yeah, okay, that is actually a very good point. So Disney is pretty much saying that it's better safe than sorry to just put it up, to just go and do the usual stuff and just delay it. They don't want to risk something like Black Widow. Okay, I do get what you mean, actually. But yeah, so by the way, also, thinking about, considering that now these movies and these shows are pretty much inevitably delayed, do you think that also means this is really going to delay the future Marvel films? And I'm talking about stuff like Eternals, the third Spider-Man movie. Do you think that means now that Black Widow is delayed, do you think the others are going to be delayed as well?
I think that Disney's going to hold on that for a while, because, well, they don't know how long the virus will last, and they're hoping it might be gone by the summer or the fall, which personally I think is very generous estimates, but they're going to try to hold on to those as best they can, because they didn't, like I said, they did not want to do it with Black Widow, but they have to. Those movies are further out, and they're hoping, okay, maybe it'll stop, and then we won't have to push that back too much. But if it does, they will push that back. I don't foresee them gambling on those movies either. They'll just keep pushing it back and back and back until this solves itself.
Okay, so like it's just gonna temporarily like push back, and then maybe in like a year or two things would get back to normal like they would usually plan.
Yeah, I think their entire schedule is going to get pushed back a year or two at most, and there will definitely be a lot of grumbling. There'll be a lot of studio heads that are angry, and there's going to be a lot of profits lost. But they had to do that or take the extra risky gamble of putting on a video on demand, and at the moment, that's an untested method.
Okay. Okay, that does make sense, honestly. Like you're definitely a lot more knowledgeable on Marvel than I would, so that is honestly a very interesting perspective. Like I honestly wouldn't fully know what this would mean for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I thought I thought it would be like kind of a major thing. Like either it would be just a temporary minor issue, or this would be like a major roadblock that's really going to push everything to a year, like not just Black Widow and stuff, but like all of their films that they would go and plan out.
Yeah, it's Marvel. They work a lot more clockwork than any other of the Disney divisions outside of maybe the live action studio with the remakes.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I just realized something. Like, considering that we are talking about Marvel and, like, how they are working in clockwork, like, this is not to mention as well the fact that another major project that they have is not necessarily their movies, and, like, maybe this doesn't necessarily have to connect with, not connect with the movies, per se, but, they also got, like, the Avengers campus, like at Disneyland and in a few other places as well, like Hong Kong and Disneyland Paris. Like that, like even right now, considering that Disneyland is closed and stuff like that, like that's another major thing that's being put to a halt.
Yo, yeah, that was honestly the exact moment when I knew, uh-oh, this is gonna be bad, because I believe Disneyland's only been closed like 3 times, and if off the top of my head, it was the assassination of John F. Kennedy and 9/11. That was literally it. And I remember after reading Disney War, they almost didn't even do it on 9/11. They only did that because there was a possibility of an attack in Disneyland, not because of the event. So they don't want to ever close any of the parks. The fact that they did this is a major sign of trouble.
Yeah, it's a major sign that they have to do it. That's pretty much mandatory that they have to do this. So yeah, this is like a very rare occasion, and I wouldn't be surprised if this would spawn more like the creepypasta, like only the creepypasta people that are enjoying it, because now they can extend their novel on like their little abandoned by Disney stories.
Oh, I'm sure they're already like, oh yes, it's like the one guy left in Disneyland when they close and he's got to survive, and ooh, Walt's head comes out of the ground. Ooh,
look, photo opportunities. Look at all the abandoned moments at Disney World. They're just going like mine. No.
It's gonna be like Five Nights at Freddy's, where it's like the Country Bear Jamboree that just come out there. It's like, person, get him.
Yeah. Oh god, Country Bear Jamboree. Yeah. Out of all the animatronics and out of all the rides, it's not the pirates, it's not the ghosts, it's the bears that they have to watch out for.
That's what Christopher Walken was warning us all along. It's not over. It's the bears.
It's the bears. Yeah. I think that it's actually a dark omen when you would hear Big Al sing, "There was blood on the saddle." Which one? Yours, my friend.
and then he starts playing dueling banjos. It's like, oh no.
Get it, boys. Yeah, and then but then you got the murder thing actually happening. Like the massacre is actually occurring with the bears, and then you see Big Al on the side doing his reaction, like in the movie, like that delayed head, like the delayed reaction is just there, like.
Yeah, and then Splash Mountain, they're like, "Yay, we can be racist again. There's no one here.
We're free. We can finally get out of that Disney vault. Come on, boys."
Like zippity doo dah, zippity day. We're gonna say the N-word. What are you gonna do?
Oh God, no! Oh God, we're going in a dark territory for this. Like we're going in a territory where we might be the ones that we might as well call it the Chinese virus.
Oh no!
Oh boy,
Oh yeah.
we apologize for that, folks. We were just having a little bit of fun, but we'll get back to things right now. But
Imagine being stuck in Disneyland now with all the things closed. That would be something.
Just give us the keys to know how to operate the rides, and we'll be all good.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, soaring 24/7, baby.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. That's one of my favorite rides that I went to at Disneyland. Oh my God, that and Pirates is like like me and my parents were only there for 2 days, but Pirates and Soarin' were the only ones we did twice, and it was amazing.
Oh, okay, I'm imagining someone stuck in the pirate attraction. It's like, oh boy, my favorite attraction, Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh no, it's the movie version.
Oh yeah, like you're stuck next to Johnny Depp, and it's just like, well.
It's like Pirate's Life for me, but not that guy. Oh no, that's not the right redhead. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, going back into Black Widow. Yeah, we'll see how this is really going to be affecting the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, this is what we do know. This is definitely a major blow to them.
Yeah, I'd say it's in the top 3 most anticipated movies that's been pushed back, along with Fast 9.
Yeah, and No Time to Die, of course.
Oh, yes, which, can I just say the naming conventions on these movies is just priceless. Yeah, No Time to Die, and then the movie, it's all about one last ride, family, Corona, beer.
Especially with the frickin' Tarzan car. Oh
yeah. It's like I unironically enjoy those films just for the absolute camp value, and I'm like, yeah, just keep it going, man. Have every bad guy you kill just keep coming back, and then be on your friend's side. I don't care.
Oh God, believe it or not, I have not seen a single Fast and Furious movie, so like, I don't know if it would be too much of a whiplash if I just go in watching Fast 9 like, what the fridge is going on?
Actually, it'd be less whiplash than if you started with the original movie, because the original movie was just a straight up, he's undercover cop and we're gonna do drag racing and it's kind of criminal. It's like, it's semi-grounded, and then by the 5th movie, they're running off with entire bank vaults, and I think the 6th one had like a runway that's like 500 miles long. 7th one has like The Rock flexing like cast off and like mini gunning people down and like punching like, I think it was like the pavement out of the. It's crazy.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine. But then again, like, it sounds pretty tame compared to what I just saw with the frickin' Treasure Planet. Oh, God.
Well, to be fair, if someone gave Vin Diesel a bomb, he probably would give the reaction of, I asked for a Corona beer, I didn't ask for a bomb.
Yeah, like Vin Diesel's just on the side. This was a bomb. I didn't ask for a bomb, bro. Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the Treasure Planet is soon going to be just referred to as Fast and Furious 11.
Yeah, I'm not exaggerating when I say these movies would not even be that more ridiculous if in the 10th movie, the Iron Giant and Groot showed up.
Yeah, probably. Who knows?
It'd be like, oh, okay, they're here. All right.
Yeah, this is a Groot. I didn't ask you for a Groot, Billy. Alright, so anyways, let's go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think about Black Widow being delayed? Is this something that you guys were highly anticipated for? Are you disappointed that it's being delayed? Do you think it's going to make a big impact on the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let me know what you all think. Let's see now. It's a good thing that Black Widow hasn't got a new release date yet, because there's no telling how long this virus will last. Perhaps months or years. Good thing production of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 got delayed when this whole James Gunn controversy happened. Imagine the disaster that film might get if it was released in 2020 like it was planned to be. Yeah, you know what?
Oh man, that was going to be released in 2020. Oh, that would have been bad luck.
It turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Like, now it's a good thing. Because, like, now things are still going to plan. We're still getting James Gunn to work on Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And now it's like, okay, well, it would have been delayed anyways. So, yeah, it turns out, ironically, it's a blessing in disguise that kind of worked out.
Yeah, no, at worst case scenario, they could have just gotten his non-union Mexican part, Jose Pistola.
Yeah, that is true. Let's see. It's pretty sad that Black Widow film got delayed because of the coronavirus, and the movie theaters are closing. I am curious about it and the past of Black Widow. Probably who's going to be the next Black Widow. Would you know about this?
Yeah, that's the thing, because as every character in the Marvel Universe has, or really any comic book, there's always been an evil version, there's always been a super version, there's always been at least 5 different versions of varying races and ethnicities, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't bring the character back through some way. They'll just replace her with another character. There's like 20 Black Widows.
Yeah, if Doctor Strange isn't going to be doing anything, then if you want a good example of what Tyler's talking about, go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's where that's where you get all the versions of Spider-Man there. Anyways, I'm very disappointed that they delayed Black Widow, but it's for the best. I do have a feeling that they will still make it a theatrical release and not put it on Disney Plus because of how Disney could bank hard on it. It's also the reason why they might also do that with the Mulan remake. However, I feel like it's more like that the New Mutants will end up on Disney Plus instead because of the amount of delays. Yeah, that could be a special exception. Like with all the movies, the New Mutants will be the one exception that they will do. That like it's been delayed after it's like it's been getting delay after delay after delay after delay. It'll reach up to the point where Disney is like, screw it, let's just put it up on Disney Plus. Let's just put it out already.
That's what I thought was going to happen a year ago when it got delayed like the 3rd time. And I'm like, no, they're just going to keep pushing it out. There is no audience for this movie because they don't understand. Is it a Marvel movie? Is it an Avengers movie? Is it an X-Men movie? What is this thing? And it's a horror movie. It's been reshot. Scary. It's not scary. It's like been pushed back like, what is it, like 5 times? I'm not even exaggerating when I'm like, the only 2 films that come to mind was, I think there was one of those direct-to-video like Amityville horror films that got pushed back 7 times, and the famous Who Killed Don Quixote, which still isn't out yet. That's the only movie that's been pushed back
or I think
nearly as much as this.
I think that's been out, but only in like festivals and stuff like that.
Yeah, a copy exists. At this point, I've been joking that I'm like, is Maisie Williams going to be like a grandmother when this movie comes out? Because she's already too old to do the reshoots that apparently didn't happen last I checked. Like, the movie's a mess.
Oh, yeah. No, I get what you mean. But to be fair, in defense of the New Mutants, at least this delay, it's not because of its own fault. Like, at least
no.
that.
Yeah. Though it's like the kid that just couldn't get to class. He kept, like, dropping out. And then the one time he showed up to class, it got canceled.
Wait, apparently someone commented that Fast and Furious 10 is supposed to be the last one in the franchise. Really?
Well, the 10th movie is supposed to be split into 2 movies. It's going to be called FF10-1 and FF10-2. So yes, get all your Final Fantasy jokes out now, because apparently they didn't realize that. And then they're like, well, go from there. There'll be more. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's the thing. I highly doubt it's the last one of the franchise, especially when they introduced the idea of bringing on board spin-off films like Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, for the franchise, I can't stop talking about one more ride. I can see Vin Diesel doing this in a wheelchair and just calling it Not So Fast, Not Too Furious.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Rolling Stones of movie franchises. It will just not frickin' end.
Yeah, even when people are begging, come on, man, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Stop. It's like, I can't stop. I never can stop.
Yeah.
One more ride.
Yeah, it'll be like after the 5th, like people will just feel numb after the 5th time that they hear, when can I see you again? Wow.
And much like the Rolling Stones, Vin Diesel will probably end up in, like, I don't know, the newly opened, like, movie museum. He's just gonna be a permanent exhibit going on about. It's like, hey, you can see Vin Diesel as he films Fast and the Furious 20.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're gonna do. No, they'll do like a special presentation for the Universal backlot tour.
Like everyone in the audience is now in Fast and Furious 21.
Hooray! All right, one more before we jump on to the next story. I grew up with the MCU, and I do consider them cinema. Sorry, Marty. But after Endgame, I find this movie to be kind of pointless since she already had an arc, and I was more interested in the Eternals, but damn is delaying this major. I understand why Disney did this, but I was looking forward to Antlers, David Copperfield, and I wanted to see what's up with New Mutants. Though the people act like Marvel has a plan when in reality, they're most likely making this up as they go along. So don't panic, people. Oh, that could be a point.
Yeah, I just agree with saying they don't have a plan. The franchise that you could argue they didn't have a plan was Star Wars, and to which degree I can't even fully say. This one, no, they have this firmly in the ground since they've had, with the same person in charge since like what 2012, I want to say, when like Perlmutter was kicked out. So yeah, they know what they're doing. Though I do agree with the character arc thing because, well, since it's a prequel, you're not gonna be able to set up any character arc because what you're gonna character arc end up into Avengers 1. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, let's go and jump on to the next story, and what we are going to talk about is going to be another movie delay, but this one is going to be a little bit different. Technically, yes, it is due to the coronavirus, but I would say out of all the movies that have been delayed so far, this is probably the one that is affected the most by the pandemic, more so than anyone else. And you'll understand what I mean when I'll be talking about Minions: The Rise of Gru. Yes, Universal Pictures has decided to delay the upcoming Illumination animated feature Minions: The Rise of Gru, which is supposed to be released sometime either in the end of June or in the beginning of July, depending on where you live, but they ultimately decided to go and delay it. However, the reason they are delaying this is not because of the usual reasons. Now, this is not because of like, oh, the coronavirus is going to be affecting the box office, so we gotta delay it. This is not the case. Now, the thing is, it actually does seem quite surprising the fact that they're delaying a movie that's being released like much later than usual, because the movies that have been delayed so far are the ones that are supposed to be released like either in a few weeks or like sometime in April or in the beginning of May. But in the case of Minions, like this is like the latest movie, like the one whose release date is the furthest to be released. Why is it that this one is getting delayed? Well, it's not because of the usual reasons, but you gotta keep in mind of the production house of Illumination Entertainment. If you guys don't know, the animation house of Illumination is Illumination MacGuff, which is in Paris, France. And if you guys don't know, in France, that is one of the countries that are being hit the hardest when it comes to this pandemic. I will go and read you here a quote coming from the CEO of Illumination Entertainment, Chris Meledandri, as he states here, in response to the severity of the situation in France, we are temporarily closing our Illumination MacGuff studio in Paris. With this decision, we are abiding by the French government's guidelines and doing everything possible to slow the spread of the virus as we care for our artists and their families. This means we will be unable to finish Minions: The Rise of Gru in time for our planned global release in late June and early July. While we all grapple with the enormity of this crisis, we must put the safety and protection of our employees above all. We look forward to finding a new release date for the return of Gru and the Minions. And I will say, okay, bonus points for Chris Meledandri, because so far his response to the whole situation is definitely much better than frickin' Jeff, who's the CEO of NBC Universal. Yeah, it's much better than Jeff Shell, because at least Chris Meledandri is stating that he does care about the health and safety of his employees and stuff like that. But yeah, I think like with this whole situation, it really is kind of an eye-opener of how the coronavirus is definitely serious, especially in other countries like in France. Like, I don't know about you, but like this kind of did scare me a little bit. Not necessarily related to the movie, but more to the people who are working at Illumination, don't you think?
Oh yeah, it's near apocalyptic in France. When I read, they were the first ones to close all their schools and the movie theaters. These cases are just doubling by the day. It's really bad in France. So I fully understand everything has to be just locked down, go, nothing leaves this area. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like are they in a full-on lockdown or are they like close to?
Last I checked, I think they're just full on in lockdown, but they could be either close to it. I'm not fully sure on that, but I know it's very bad. One of the worst parts of Europe, along with Italy and Spain. So they definitely need to take this seriously. So I understand why everyone has to stay at home on this one, at least.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with France as well, is that it is doing like so far it's not necessarily up there, but it's pretty much one of the European countries that's really in danger in terms of the pandemic, like almost in the levels of Spain and France. And I do completely understand why they would have to do this, not just for the animators, but also for the movie itself, considering that they're not fully done with it. They're just in post-production. And right now, it's not necessarily the same case as like with the animators, like because like there have been a lot of productions that technically, yes, like in terms of what animation studios are doing right now, they are like right now many of the animators are being said to be staying at home, while if they can, then they can work on their animated projects at home so that they could still be working and stuff. But in this case here, there's really not much else that they can do with Minions, The Rise of Gru, because technically they are at the point where they're just putting the finishing touches, and you need special facilities to go to in order to finish up the projects, which in the case of Minions, The Rise of Gru, like they are like they're at the point where they are dependent on those special facilities that now they cannot use because there's the pandemic going on, and they cannot, they can't continue with them. So everybody has no choice but to go stay at home.
What I wonder is exactly what I wonder what level of production the movie is currently at. I know it's post production, but I'm like, at what level are we talking? Like the workman's print of like Beauty and the Beast, where it's like 70% finished. Like I wonder how far they are into it.
Well, it really does depend. I mean, like they could be at the point where like maybe they are at the point where they're just putting the finishing touches on the animation, like the lighting and stuff like that, or maybe with the textures, or maybe or maybe they only have like a few scenes that they need to fully animate, but they're at the point where they can't just take it and just bring it at home. Like right now it is at the point, like I'm just guessing in terms of the production, where right now there's too much data that's already in there, and it's like, and this is already really, like, considering it's an upcoming major motion picture, especially based on like the most successful animated franchise out there, like it's honestly way too much of a risk, and it's too big of a file in order to go and bring it at home so that they could continue it at home, at least in terms of the animation. But then there's also like the other factors as well, like adding in music, which you cannot really do because of the whole social distancing that you have to do. And then there's like sound effects and stuff like that. There's all like other, like, other recording stuff. There's a lot of other factors. There's still, like, even though this is post-production, there is still a lot more that would be done that, like I said, it would require people to have special facilities onto.
Yeah, and to everyone that thinks like, okay, lighting and texture's not a big deal, I'm pretty sure there's a couple special features on the early Pixar and DreamWorks films where you can see what a film without the textures and lighting looks like. Yeah, you don't want to ever show that to anybody without, a hard drink. it's horrifying.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need textures, you need lighting, like you need that polish in order to make a great looking computer animated feature. And especially with Minions Rise of Gru, they already have a standard that they have to go and set, especially when it comes to its visuals, because we already got a trailer that's been released. We already saw what Minions The Rise of Gru is going to look like. They can't just put it out as it is because it's not at the point where everything looks like that so far. And I mean, who knows? Like, there could be some that aren't fully animated yet and they're only at the storyboard phase of it.
Yeah, an unfinished CGI film is a lot less appealing than an unfinished hand-drawn film, and yeah, you cannot put this in like a video on demand. That's not an option.
Yeah, unless you want to see like an epic chase scene done by T-posing characters with a blank expression on their face. Nah, you just can't do that. It ain't something that you can fix with just a quick Gmod.
Yeah, though I do love the image of like, hey kids, let's watch the Rise of Groot, and then it turns into a Lovecraftian movie halfway through. Ah!
Oh god. Oh god. Like I can just imagine like there's a fully animated scene. It's like, we did it, Minions! We saved the day! And then cuts to a scene where like everybody's just T-posing, where like Gru's just standing there, faces blank, and we just see like a crowd of minions all T-posing. Like they're all cheering, but we don't see any movements except like all of them are just jumping like, yeah, oh god. Like I said, it's just gonna turn into just this random Gmod video. It's like it would be at the point where you're half expecting Heavy from Team Fortress 2 to suddenly come in.
Yeah, like the crash of the movie is just the heavy going, nope.
Oh god. No, the creator is gonna be the spy and the doctor, and Heavy is just gonna be on the side, just suddenly teaming up with Gru. It's like, I am Minion now!
No. The third act, it's like they're like, what do? We gotta stop the bad guys. And then Shrek comes in saying Shrek is love, Shrek is life, because hey, they have them now. They can do that.
Oh my god. You know, the most horrifying thing is that it is true. No. The thing is, if they are gonna bring in Shrek, you know how they're gonna do it. It's just right at the end, he's just gonna walk by it, and then like just full on ear rape go, oh hello there!
Yeah, probably, or it just is gonna be they finished the day, it's all good, and it's just camera's gonna pan to like just an outhouse, and he's gonna walk out of it.
Yeah, or it turns out it's like the biggest plot twist of them all. Like Minions: The Rise of Gru, it is not a prequel to Despicable Me. It's actually a prequel to Shrek, where suddenly.
Oh, no.
Gru is gonna end up being mutated. His skin is gonna turn green. And then the scene will end with him reading a fairy tale story and then coming out of his outhouse.
Yeah, he's gonna fall into like the vat of like gases, like he's the Joker, and he's gonna come out. You're gonna hear somebody wants to.
Oh god! And then suddenly Steve Carell is gonna leave, and then we enter Mike Myers.
Yep.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, though, going back into the situation with Illumination and in France, yeah, honestly, there's no other way to describe this situation other than it's frightening, right? Like, regardless of what you may think about the Despicable Me films, or regardless of what you may think of Illumination, like, you may be a fan, you may be a hater, or whatever, but there's no denying that this is a pretty concerning and pretty frightening situation. And yeah, I do wish I do wish all the best for the animators working at Illumination, and I do hope they stay safe during this pretty frightening time. And who knows how long this will last, but hopefully things will get better, especially in France, and that maybe they can't, like, maybe they will continue, they'll be able to finish off Minions: The Rise of Gru. Like, I know there are people that are not excited for this, and, like, people are sick and tired of Minions, but after all this that's been going on, and after, like, you know, going through, like, especially what's been going on in France, like, honestly, like, we're at the point where, like we gotta give Illumination this one, okay? Like, if they want to make another Minions movie, at this point, they deserve this one. I mean, because they have been hit harder than most other animation studios.
Yeah, I understand. Like, I'm not excited for this film whatsoever. The last film only was partially enjoyable because of 1980s man.
Yeah. Yeah, go on.
But you know, I fully support the movie, and everyone needs to be safe there, and you know that comes first. Just in the beginning, instead of the minion coming out and saying "Illumination," can you sing a little bit of like "La Marseillaise"?
La Marseillaise.
Or am I saying that wrong? It's the French national anthem. I have the worst French in the world.
Well, no, I mean, like, it's a tradition. They'll still have to say Illumination.
I know, just like it's a little tribute to the company. It's putting their all into this.
Yeah, no, I do get what you mean. Yeah, like, it would be nice if they would actually, if they would do like a little tribute, like to stay strong for the animators and stuff. So yeah, I do get what you mean, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's go into the chat wall, and it's time I would like to ask you all, what do you think about the whole situation with Minions: The Rise of Gru and Illumination's response to the whole pandemic? Do you think it's understandable? When do you think that Minions: The Rise of Gru is going to be coming back? Let me know what you all think. Okay, let's see here. Even though I have no interest in The Rise of Gru, this is a good move to push it back during this crisis, and wish the best of luck for Chris, the animators, and their families in France. Also, since the production company has closed, do you think it will affect both Sing 2 and the Mario movie's production, since they're both slated for 2021 and 2022 respectively? Well, that would honestly depend. It would depend on how far they are, especially when it comes to the Mario movie. Like, they could still be well into the storyboard production, and there could be a few things that the animators can still do at home. Sing 2, I would say maybe, because they're definitely still in the animation phase. They're still in production, and that could actually be something that the animators can bring at home and that they could animate. So honestly, when it comes to those two, I would say for Sing 2, maybe, and for the Mario movie, I highly doubt it. That thing is still way too far ahead. Like, at the most, maybe Sing 2 could get a little bit delayed, but that would be because of all the other delays and the other movies that have been pushed back and now been placed into a new release date.
Yeah, I don't think it's in danger of getting canceled or pushed back yet. Give it a few months and maybe it will be, but that's with Sing 2, of course. The Mario movie, yeah, that has to be like just the writing phase. That will probably be fine. I can't really imagine it getting pushed back at this point.
Yeah, so yeah, it's more of a like one step at a time. Let's just wait and see. That's the best answer for it. I'm not gonna act like this delay of Minions 2 is a huge loss, although not as much as Peter Rabbit 2, but it's a good move on Meledandri's behalf to keep his employees safe considering how bad the pandemic is getting in France. Also, regarding that random and silly cut of Rise of Gru you guys were talking, I don't care if the movie is unfinished. I legit want to see a movie where Gru and the Minions T-pose throughout it. Have a meme fanatic. It would be like a meme fanatic's dream come true. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Like that would actually be hilarious. Like that would actually go and start off a petition on social media. Like hashtag release the T-pose cut of Minions Rise of Gru.
It's like, yeah, Seth Rogen, release the T-cut, man.
No, it's the T-pose cut. We need the T-pose cut.
Yeah, well, as a society, maybe we actually do. Also, technically, isn't this like Minions 5? Like, I have that right.
Technically, Despicable Me 5. Technically. But this would be, like, technically with this one, like, the best way to put it would be, like, if you think of it in the sense of, like, Legend of Zelda, I would say that that Minions 2 is the Majora's Mask of the Despicable Me films.
That's slightly less complicated, but I get that. So it's technically Minions Part 2 / Despicable 5 Origins Part 1.
Yeah. in a way. Don't think about it too hard. Just call it the Majora's Mask, and you'll be good.
Yes.
All right. Anyways, knowing Illumination, despite outbreak and delay, they'll still be successful with Minions 2. There is no way they would do an early home release because this franchise is perhaps the company's life support and would probably be suicide if they did an early home media. I know a lot of kids who love Minions and they might be bummed about the delay in theaters. By the way, what's going to happen with seeing... Okay, well, we already answered that question. But actually, going back into the previous comment, mentioning that it's I don't know, I would honestly disagree or might debate regarding the delay of Minions 2 being not that big of a loss compared to Peter Rabbit 2. I would say, yeah, like Minions 2 is a bigger loss than Peter Rabbit 2, I would say. What would you think?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't know there was a Peter Rabbit 2 until literally this week, so I think that says a lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know many people who's like really excited to go see Peter Rabbit 2 and watch it on the big screen. Like, I could see people wanting to see Minions: The Rise of Gru on the big screen, but not really Peter Rabbit 2. I'm gonna be very honest. It's one of those sequels that people didn't really ask for and might end up as a flop, much like many of the sequels that we got last year.
Yeah, it's like, oh boy, mommy, I want to see James Corden do another horrible act as Peter Rabbit. Maybe he'll do corona bullying. What do I know?
Who knows? God.
But I think the movie getting delayed. No, Minions. I mean, I think it'll be fine no matter what, because the movie it's almost too big to fail at this point. Each movie's almost made $1 billion each time. If you put that on like video on demand, it probably would break all kinds of records. I think it's be fine no matter what.
Yeah, that is true. Let's see. Yeah, I think in terms of Minions: The Rise of Gru, I think it's gonna be fine. It will be successful no matter what release date they'll find it. Anyways, Illumination is hit and miss. I enjoy some of their films. Let's not forget that it's been almost 10 years since the first Despicable Me was released for a release as for Minions 2. It's the right decision, so I wish the best of luck to finish the film and stay safe. All right, that's nice.
Wow, it has actually been 10 years. Wow, I remember when that was, I wouldn't call it like a sleeper hit, but it was like it's a cute film that everyone liked, and then the second movie made what, like $800 million, then it just kept.
No, I think it was really close to making $1 billion, but it
like
just did
9.5, something like that.
Yeah,
like,
something like that.
I remember that was a big hit, and then it just kept going higher and higher and higher. Now it's like, yeah, you're right, it's the biggest animated franchise without any competition.
Oh yeah, like it even beat out Ice Age. Like that's the thing. And this is going to be their, and keep in mind with Ice Age they had 5 movies. Despicable Me is going to enter into their 5th film. So Rise of Gru is going to solidify that position.
Well, as long as this is not the collision course of the franchise, that's fine by me.
Yeah, I do hope so. Especially for me, like I do enjoy the Despicable Me films. I hope they don't go too far with it.
Yeah, I like the first one a lot. Second film I thought was pretty good. Kristen Wiig was a pretty good addition. I was not a big Minions fan. Third one, well, disappointing outside of 1980s man. And then this film, who knows? Maybe it'll go back on track. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll read one more, and then we're going to jump on to the next story. I warmly commend Chris Meledandri for this. I do hope that he and the crew are safe, and they could be finished Minions: The Rise of Gru by the end of 2020. All right, so that is honestly pretty nice to see, like a mix of people, like fans or not fans of Illumination, but are still wishing the best of luck for the Illumination animators. That's honestly nice to see.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Okay, now on our next story, we're going to be talking about a little bit of business. But this is going to be a very interesting discussion. I know some of you might not know much about like the business side of things, but the potential idea of what I'm going to be suggesting, I know this is going to be something that many people would want to talk about. And one thing I would like to mention though is regarding how a lot of people seem to have a bit of a distaste for Disney, especially when referring to the fact that a lot of people say that, oh, Disney is a monopoly. You've heard that often, that Disney is a monopoly. But I will say, just because they are the biggest they are the biggest entertainment company, that doesn't necessarily mean there's no other company that's bigger than them. Which in this case would also be Apple. And the possibility that maybe Apple could buy Disney. Yes, you heard that right. That there is a possibility, because of what's going on right now, that there is a chance that Apple could go and have a full-on buyout of the entirety of the Walt Disney Company. Now, where this all happened was this article here coming from the Hollywood Reporter, where they talked to one analyst, specifically Rosenblatt securities analyst Bernie McTernan, discussing about how there is a chance that Apple could actually go and acquire the Walt Disney Company, mainly because of what's currently happening with the coronavirus right now. And if you guys don't know, when it comes to the business side of things in the entertainment field, there's no hiding that the coronavirus is definitely hitting these major companies massively hard. Like, they are taking a serious damage, especially the Walt Disney Company. You know how Disney is being hit hard, not just like when it comes to the movies, but also especially when all their parks around the world have no choice but to be temporarily shut down. Like, the closest we know so far is that I did hear that pretty soon they are going to reopen Shanghai Disneyland, but we don't have a full confirmation if they are going to reopen places like Disneyland or Disney World anytime soon. Like, they said maybe in the beginning of April, but that is still remain to be seen with how things are going with this pandemic. But going back into this, to read more carefully in this article from Hollywood Reporter, McTernan states here, "We believe those with long-time horizons, like mega-cap companies with large cash balances and whose equity outperformed Disney over the last 3 weeks, like Apple, could take advantage of the volatility," he wrote, noting that Disney's market capitalization was approximately $165 billion, while Apple has about $107 billion in cash and securities. The upside from acquiring Disney would be securing their content streaming strategy and potential synergies from adding the emerging Disney ecosystem to the iOS platform. Now, one thing I would like to clarify from all this is that nothing is confirmed. There is nothing that is an actual fact in terms of what's going on. We don't have a comment from Apple, nor do we have a comment from Disney if this acquisition is even true. What this analyst is saying is just a hypothetical theory, and we need to only treat it as such. It's just a hypothetical theory. But I do feel like it is a theory that really does highlight something that could potentially happen in the future. What do you think about all this, Tyler?
I think it's mathematically, theoretically possible, but logistically not even remotely possible.
Yeah, really? What do you mean by that? Could you explain further?
Like I said, their stocks are going down. This is correct. I'm pretty sure Apple's stocks are going down too because they had to close a lot of their stores due to the coronavirus. So they're not exactly in the best situation to take over a major corporation. And it wouldn't be just a corporation. It would be one of the largest corporations on the planet. And I imagine that the FCC would not like this at all, judging by how much they flipped out just over the Time Warner merger with the AT&T. And this would be 5 times larger than that.
Yeah, you know, honestly, if I could just make a comment, because, like, that's one thing a lot of people have mentioned is that, like, the government and the FCC are not going to approve this and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm just going to say right now, I honestly have a very good feeling they would allow it no problem. As long as we are still in the Trump administration, they're going to let this happen. They don't care about monopolies and stuff like that. They only care that, like, for the Trump administration, they only care that if they're able to profit from it, then they're perfectly okay from this. So don't think that the FCC is suddenly going to put to a halt this kind of thing if that would ever happen.
That is true. They did let the Fox Disney merger go through, and it's entirely possible the one with AT&T was just because of CNN being on the package.
Yeah, exactly. So that's honestly the whole thing. I just thought that I would go and need to put my whole piece on that little bit. But honestly,
True.
I feel like what makes this deal seem a bit impossible is more the strategy kind of thing. Because if they would go and like if Apple would go and acquire something like Disney, then that would be a massive responsibility. Like, that would be a shakeup that would be way too big. And we don't know if at Disney they would even allow this to happen. Now, knowing my Disney history, like, this is, of course, this is not the first time that Disney would be in consideration to be bought by a major corporation and stuff. Like, that has happened a few times before. But I don't know, like, if Disney would ever be in a position that they would end up getting bought out by a bigger company. I don't think that would legitimately happen. Like, it's
Yeah,
like,
it's like, sorry.
like you said, sorry, Tyler, but like you said, like, it's mathematically possible, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it would be possible, or if it would be a good idea in terms of strategy and in terms of long-term business.
Yeah, like they said, like you're probably thinking of the Saul Steinberg like attempt back in the '80s. That was when Disney was they didn't even now they also had like what one kind of two at that point. They were so much smaller than they are now, and to control Disney, I can't even imagine how many billions of dollars it would take to buy them out. It would put a massive dent in Apple that they probably wouldn't get back for years. And look how much planning they would have to do. Look at the Fox merger. That took multiple years of planning, multi-billion dollars, and it took a snail's pace to even remotely start to pay back, and which is about now actually. So I don't think Apple could do that. I mean, how long would that take? 5 years, 10 years to fully integrate a software company like Apple into like a conglomerate like Disney?
Yeah, 5, 10 years. Holy crap! That's a dream. That would be like a dream come true for them if that would happen. More like, well, more like a whole lifetime. I would say like 20, 30, even 50 years. And like even right
Yeah,
now,
and
Disney.
especially right now.
Yeah, and like even right now, I would even say like this is why we're never going to see Disney do another major buyout in a long, long time because they're still paying for their Fox merger. I mean, like you got to keep in mind they spent $72 billion on that company. So it's going to take them a long time in order to get their money back, even if they would go and release movies that would end up making like more than $1 billion at the box office. That's still like small profits when it comes to like getting their money back from Fox.
Yeah, and like lately, Apple's only just started to dip their toe into the entertainment industry with like their own little streaming service, and even that only has a few notable programs like M. Night Shyamalan series and that what was it called? I think like the Morning Report. I think it's called. Like that's it. They don't have much to actually offer yet. Why would you start up your own streaming service and then instantly buy the biggest company ever with almost every IP, which has its own streaming service, which is doing just fine, especially in this climate? Like I said, their stock's not doing great. The amount of damage that was due to them with the coronavirus tanking everybody. I'm not saying they'll go bankrupt, but this would be a very poor choice.
Yeah, exactly. And you do bring up a good point, the fact that it is hurting everyone. But one thing that I do want to emphasize that, like, in defense of Bernie, what he did mention here is that he did highlight something that I do feel like this is something that we do need to keep an eye on. Now, I like there's a very strong chance, or it's like like I'm 99% sure that we're not going to see Apple buying Disney because of what is happening. But what could be highly possible, though, is that with his theory, we could potentially see a major buyout happen because there could be, like, one company that was hurt severely because of the whole pandemic, and there's going to be one company that will take full advantage, and buy them out. Like this isn't just Disney. Like, all the major studios are being hurt in this scenario. Like Paramount, Warner Brothers, Universal, Sony. Like, this is the reason why they're releasing all their movies onto digital, or all their latest films, while delaying many of their upcoming ones. Like, it really is hurting them hard. But I can totally imagine that sometime in the future, they will, like, there's going to be one company that's going to come in, they'll take advantage of the situation, and they're going to buy one of the major, like, I do predict one of the major studios is going to be bought out. In fact, okay, this is going to be a big thing that I'm going to do, but I'm going to make a crazy big prediction. This has always been something that's in my mind, like, for a while. And I do feel like maybe it could be because of this, we could actually see this happen. Now, maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like this could be a situation that could actually happen, because there's one company that is taking advantage so far because of the current situation, and one company that's definitely suffering because of this, just like many of the others. But I honestly feel like... yeah, and some people, already some people are saying, like, feel the burn. Oh my god. I just realized that in the chat wall, a lot of people are talking. I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders, people. It's not. I'm not talking. It's not Bernie Sanders. Wrong.
Yeah, you rename Disney World Socialist Land. It's like
yeah,
15.
It's Bernie McTernan.
Medicare
people.
Land.
It's Bernie
Medicare
McTernan,
land.
people. We're not talking about Bernie Sanders. Anyways, back to my prediction. I feel like with all this going on, I feel like Netflix might potentially buy Sony Pictures. I know this sounds crazy, and I know there are a lot of arguments that could say that this is never going to happen, and maybe Netflix is also suffering from this as well. In fact, just recently, Netflix did reveal that they're spending $100 million onto their workers in order for them to go work at home so that they would still have a salary and stuff like that, so great on them. But I feel like this is a situation where Netflix is definitely going to take advantage of the situation where their streaming service is going to be stronger than ever, and that you would have a company like Sony Pictures that they are suffering because of all this. And from there, I feel like Netflix could take advantage where Sony is going to be damaged to the point where they would have no choice, but in order to survive, they would have to go and merge with Netflix in order to become a Netflix company instead of a Sony company. Does that sound a bit far-fetched? Does that sound a bit crazy?
No, not with Sony, because, well, they might have slight bargaining power with Into the Spider-Verse, but they have always been an underperforming studio in the animation world, so they definitely could get bought out. That I can believe.
Okay. Yeah, and also, I'm just curious. Yeah, like, of course, like, Spider-Man is going to be a big factor into this, but also just a quick question to the chat wall. Do you guys think, like, do you think my theory would be a bit far-fetched? Do you think it's a little bit ridiculous, or do you think there is a possibility? Like, we're just shooting out theories. Like, I'm not saying this will happen, but do you think, like, what, like, I want to know, what do you think about the idea? Do you think it could happen? Do you think it won't? Okay, some people
it's just a theory, an animation theory.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, not just Sony Animation. I mean, like, the entirety of freaking Sony Pictures. Like, okay, so I see a bit of a mixed things. Like, and honestly, I don't know if, like, okay, there are some people that say no, some people say yes and no, some people are mixed. Let's see, or someone's suggesting a merger, like, for Sony and Paramount to team up and merge together. Someone saying, like, Sony being bought. Sony being bought by either Amazon or Netflix.
Amazon may, because they are progressing rapidly into almost every single industry, so that is possible.
Yeah, it could be. Okay, yeah. So like, basically we got a bit of a mixed result here. Now, and honestly, with the people who say no, I don't know if it's for sentimental feelings, because there might be a few that are fans of Sony Pictures and they don't want to think about, no, don't let Sony be damaged, don't let Sony be in a down spot. You know, I don't know if it would be that, but I do see, like, it's interesting how some people do have mixed results. And I know, like, I'm just gonna say right now, like, I know my theory sounds absolutely insane, but my point is, with this whole situation, and with what, and with like, this theory that's been brought up by this Hollywood Reporter article, I'm just saying, do not be surprised that after this whole pandemic, or like during the end of the pandemic, that we are going to see a major buyout like this. Rather it be Apple with Disney, or Netflix with Sony, or something like that. I do feel like there is going to be a major studio that's going to be hit hard by the pandemic, and they'll end up with no choice but to be bought out by a bigger company like Apple, Amazon, or something like that.
Yeah, and to summarize with the Apple Disney buyout, it also was worth noting that the guy in question, you know, he's not a board member. He's only hearing it through the grapevine as well, and that could have been just some offhand thing that some executive said. Like, God, imagine if this was like Michael Eisner. He tossed off so many crazy ideas that people immediately then shot down. Could be like that. Although the two positives that someone I just thought of is that on one hand, no one denied this. That's interesting. They didn't jump out and go, no, this is the lie. This didn't happen. They just said nothing. And Disney has a positive relationship with Apple, seeing how the biggest member of the board of directors for a long time was Steve Jobs.
Yeah, and especially with his, like, Steve Jobs was one of the big founders of Pixar after all. So I mean, like, Disney owes a lot to Apple and the company and his founder. So and I mean, like, literally the main building at Pixar is named after Steve Jobs. So yeah, like, so it is true, like, a part of, like, what really did strengthen this rumor is the fact that Apple and Disney already have a pretty strong connection. They already have a pretty strong relationship. So that's the part where many people say that this rumor is not impossible.
Yeah, that there's a slight tinge of possibility, but like I said, it's mathematically possible, but probably not likely.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, that's the thing. Mathematically it's possible, but in terms of business strategies, is it even a good idea? I don't think
Probably
so.
not.
Yeah. But anyways, oh wow, I think honestly, like, I really freaked people out with my theory about Netflix and Sony and stuff like that. But anyways,
Yeah.
let's go into
Hashtag free Flint Lockwood.
Oh God, no. Burn that thing to the ground, please. Just take that thing and put him where he belongs, like in the Treasure Planet. I mean, they all have the same art style anyways.
You give him a bomb, what do you even know?
This is a bomb. That's right. I bet his hand is ticklish. No, it's not. Look. Ah, crap. Oh God, that's the one funny thing I will admit to the movie. That's the one I will give credit to the Treasure Planet, is that one little joke. That's actually really funny.
Well, I don't know. Seeing all the animation basically jitter and stop like a glitchy PS1 game certainly is enjoyable.
No, the best way to describe the animation, it's like a cartoon malfunctioning robot. You know, robots in cartoons, before they blow up, like, they freaking shake up, they malfunction and stuff like that. That's the movie, like, throughout the whole hour.
Well, I'd also say an unfinished Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Probably. Who knows? Anyways, let's go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the hypothetical theory of Apple possibly buying Disney, or even my theory of Netflix buying Sony, or another company like Amazon, or something like that? Do you feel like this could be possible? Do you feel like this could happen? Or do you feel like in the future, maybe we will see a buyout of a major studio, or maybe not? Let me know what you all think. Okay, let's see now. The tables have turned for Disney. They bought Marvel, they bought Lucasfilm, they bought Fox. Now they are currently in talks and being bought by Apple. Well, not really, or at least not that we know of. It makes sense since Disney's first animated film had an apple, a poison apple, that is. But this may be a dumb question, but if the buyout does happen, what does this mean that Disney no longer does Windows?
Windows operating system?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know.
Everyone in
Anyways.
their movies are gonna do Max now, and
I mean, well, they're already working on Max now. Like the thing is, like, I'm sure that's one major thing that Disney already has a good relationship with Apple is the fact that Apple is supplying a lot of like the computer softwares for Disney Animation and for Pixar.
even in the films, like that little short before Moana, weren't they all working on Macs, not like laptops?
Exactly. That's already done. Anyways, I can see the pros and cons of Apple buying Disney. The pros of Disney Imagineers working with Apple engineers for the Disney parks. The cons, massive layoffs from Disney. Oh yeah, like if a major that's the thing. That's what happens with all major buyouts, no matter what it is. The layoffs are going to happen no matter what. That's always the downside.
Yeah, there's never been a layoff that didn't result in some casualties. That's just the nature of business, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's see. My only concern with the buyout is their potential negative legal influences together. Disney did lobby for rewritten, stricted copyright laws for decades. Oh yeah, you know that. Yeah, you know that's gonna be a thing. You know there's gonna be a lot of legal consequences if like Disney ends up getting bought by Apple or even another company. Like it's gonna be much bigger and it's gonna be a lot more dangerous, like a lot more strict.
Yeah, it's like imagine Disney as a lobbying firm. Like they're like the new NRA, man.
Yeah, exactly. They would have more power than the government when it comes to copyright. Let's see. I could see this happen, and with everything going on, going on now. It's not impossible. And as for your theory that is possible, and considering Sony Pictures' state right now, he's saying it is possible. Also, I'm also wondering how it would affect the Spider-Man rights and how that would work. Oh yeah, like if someone would go and buy Sony Pictures, then you definitely bet that something is going to happen with the Spider-Man rights. Like that's going to be something that will influence Disney to step in and have them talk about like potentially getting the rights or something. Like, you know, that's going to be a major thing. And one of the first questions people will ask is what's going to happen to the Spider-Man rights?
Yeah, the Spider-Man rights are about the thorniest copyright issue in Hollywood. It's kind of owned by Disney. It's kind of owned by Sony. They can only use certain characters depending on the time of day. It's why you get weird oddities like the Venom. It's like that's a byproduct of the copyright split.
You know, one thing I will say is that if Sony Pictures ends up getting bought, I feel like that would be the point where there's a high chance that Disney will get all the rights to Spider-Man back. Mainly because whoever buys it would want to get some compensation back or some money back in order to pay off their big acquisition. So one of the first things they would do is make a major deal with Disney.
Yeah, that's pretty logical. Although the company that bought it could try to use it as a bargaining chip, but trying to blackmail the mouse, that never ends well.
They would totally be in a position that they could. You know they can.
Yep.
All right, I'll read one more comment here. I would not be surprised if Apple would buy Disney. After all, Steve Jobs founded Pixar, and when Disney bought Pixar, Steve Jobs became the largest shareholder of Disney. But if they do buy Disney, they would need to give up on Apple TV Plus, since they don't have hit shows besides the morning show. Also, I think Netflix should buy Viacom CBS instead of Sony Pictures, because it is way cheaper and Netflix is already working with Nickelodeon and Paramount on many projects. Like the entirety of I don't know, honestly. Is Viacom CBS cheaper than just Sony Pictures? Like, I would agree if Viacom CBS is cheaper than the whole Sony corporation, but just Viacom CBS compared to Sony Pictures, that would be debatable.
Oh, I doubt that, seeing how Viacom CBS has, Star Trek and a lot of other major licenses. I doubt that they're worth less than Sony. I mean, what has Sony got? Part of Spider-Man, Ghostbusters, That's not much.
Men in Black, and even at that, well...
Yeah, that's not a bargaining franchise. Yeah, you want Men in Black? It's like going 15, 10, 7, 7.5, man.
They would have had value if they still kept James Bond, but that's not the case anymore.
Nope, and that was barely even theirs anyway. That was more just a partnership.
Someone's saying Jumanji as well. Maybe.
That's something, I guess, seeing how it is a pretty successful franchise now.
Yeah, true. But anyways, it is now time that we are going to jump into the grand finale. And I will state this. Not all news on this episode is all about the coronavirus, because oh boy, did I save the best one for last. And Tyler, I think you know which one I am talking about.
I sure do.
Oh boy, because in this time of need, we often would need something in order to satisfy our times, in order to have us look up for hope. That we need stuff in order to look up to during this dark time. And finally, I am proud to say that I have found a movie movement that I could finally go and support and to join in. Because this is something that the world needs. This is the way that we need to see this movie. The way that it is meant to be seen and the way that it is meant to be originally crafted. We all desperately need to have the butthole version of Cats. Specifically, the butthole cut of the 2019 movie of Cats. And I know the first thing you're going to ask, what the fridge am I talking about? Yes, I know that may sound crazy, but let me go and start things off with a little story. Now, this apparently all started on social media, where a rumor spread it out regarding the 2019 Cats movie. It did get a little bit of relevancy this week, considering that it did get released on digital, and Seth Rogen did get a little bit viral on Twitter when he got high and he was tweeting out his thoughts on the movie when he was watching it. But then suddenly this one tweet coming from writer Jack Waz pretty much stirred up something very interesting and gave out a potentially interesting fact about this movie in particular, in which the tweet states here, a visual effects producer friend of a friend was hired in November to finish some of the 400 effects shots in the Cats movie. His entire job was to remove CGI buttholes that had been inserted a few months before, which means that somewhere out there exists a butthole cut of Cats. And apparently, when seeing this tweet, which really got viral, and as I am recording this, did get over 50,000 likes and nearly 10,000 retweets, it really got viral to the point where even celebrities like Seth Rogen and even Rian Johnson actually started out the campaign of Release the Butthole Cut, where we need to see a version of the Cats movie where all the cats, for some reason, have a very prominent butthole. And apparently, like, I'm using this article from Vanity Fair that's talking about it because this actually goes very well into research in terms of this whole story about what is going on with this whole butthole cut, what is the butthole cut, and where can people find it. And they even did a pretty thorough research into where they could find it. And they tried hard in order to find this butthole cut, but they weren't really that successful. However, this actually changed when Ben Melker actually received a note coming from an anonymous source from someone who actually did work on the visual effects of the Cats movie regarding if there is any truth to this butthole cut or not. And apparently there is no real butthole cut of Cats that was actually made. Or at least not made on purpose. Because let me go and read you here from my source on Vanity Fair the message that Ben Melker received from the anonymous source. As it states here, there were never shots of cats with buttholes, or at least by design. None that I saw anyways. However, there were a dozen or so shots when the skin and fur sim was groomed or folded in a way that really looked like very furry lady genitals and buttholes by accident. The task, as typical with heavy CG shows, fell on 2D to paint out the offending articles where it was brought up and spotted. Daily reviews were constant awkward discussions of people plucking up the courage to point things like this out. Does that look like a fanny to you? So that's the whole thing, is that technically yes and no. No, there is no real butthole cut of cats where the visual effects artist purposely put in a butthole onto each cat, but there is a moment where in the production of the film where the visual effects artist did have to go and rework some stuff because a lot of the shots do look like they have buttholes. So, Tyler, what do you think of this?
Oh boy, where do I even start? I actually saw cats. I read the reviews, all the glorious reviews that just honestly were the most maybe laugh out loud reviews I've read since, I don't know, maybe the reviews for Food Fight. So I'm like, okay, I wasn't planning on seeing this thing. I knew it was going to be bad. I gotta see this. And oh boy, it lived up to every single expectation I had, which is this movie is a surrealistic nightmare that Salvatore Dali couldn't have thought up while drunk and high. There's so many artistic choice in this movie that makes me just go, who thought this through? There had to be a committee of like people that went like, yeah, that's right. Like there's bugs with human faces on them. That's just like, oh, that freaks even me out. There's human hands on like cats that the size of it's melting already in front of it. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess, and you probably should see it. Actually, it's one of those movies that I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is so bad it's good. It's so bad it's.
I'm gonna be very honest. I missed the opportunity of watching it on the big screen, but I am freaking hyped up to get it on Blu-ray. I am committed to unironically go and purchase the Blu-ray of Cats when it comes out. Maybe I'll buy it on Amazon, like because of the current situation that's happening, but still, I want the freaking Blu-ray. I want to see this movie.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is what the version I saw was back in December, so I'm pretty sure it was the unpatched version, so I have no idea what the patched version looks like. Although, there is no human being that could make this in any way a desirable film. That's not even remotely possible. So this is like trying to patch like have you ever heard of an old game from like the early 2000s called Big Rigs? This is like putting a patch on Big Rigs.
Oh yeah, Big Rigs.
Yeah, it's like putting a patch on that game. It's like, yeah, you made it slightly at a pre-alpha. Congratulations, it's still an abomination. I can't imagine the cats got patched well. Also, the fact we can even say that is hysterical. This movie is this version apparently is like a pre-beta problem, and then the movie got patched. So it's a video game.
So, but just out of curiosity, if there would be an opportunity that they could actually like refit, like unfix up those things, like to keep the parts that do look like either buttholes or fannies and stuff like that, would you want to watch that version of Cats?
Why not? I mean, the movie's already kind of weirdly suggestive as it is. I mean, there's a scene with like Rebel Wilson that's like she's like urinating, and there's like Taylor Swift is way too suggestively not clothed to be like someone sat down and said, the Taylor Swift cat, we're gonna make her sexualized as hell, man. We're gonna make the furries love her.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, like it's too obvious. I think they even like boosted up her boobs for like the movie. Yeah, it's like noticeable.
Yeah, and they treat catnip like it's like drugs, man. It's like I can't. I sound like I'm making this up, but I'm like, this movie is a complete like train wreck in about every way possible. And the thing that the cherry on top is that I read an AV Club article this week about what the commentary track on the Blu-ray is going to be, and it's just the director. Oh my god, it was the guy who did Les Mis. Tom Hooper. He's just trying to kind of say with a straight face. Where I'm like, well, the idea of the Jellicle Cat is it's a reflection of mankind, and I'm like, no, man, no, you're not selling me on this.
Don't try, man.
Like, if I were you, just try to be like the guy who did like Batman and Robin and just drop your knees and go, look, I tried. They paid me a dump truck full of money. I made a mess. There's nothing that can be done.
Yeah, no, the only person who should be allowed to go and do a legitimate audio commentary, they need to bring back Seth Rogen, get him high again, and just watch the movie. Let him interpret the whole thing.
It's like the two top people you should have this is because I actually am a connoisseur of commentary tracks. I've heard good ones, bad ones. Taika Waititi has some pretty fun commentary tracks because he hates doing commentary tracks, so it's just him getting progressively drunk and like calling people and just kind of going like, it's a sin we do this, and why are you listening to this, man? Come on. And the other one is you got to get the Ben Affleck commentary track from Armageddon is the gold standard of good commentary track, where it's just him just punking on the film, going like, yeah, this movie's stupid as can be. And then Michael Bay told me that it's harder to be like a construction worker than an astronaut, and I'm like, what's up with that? And he goes like, shut up, Ben. So
wow.
So yeah, maybe either like I said, like Seth Rogen just getting high and going like, oh man, this movie's crazy, or getting some of the actors and just like dunking on it because there's no way that people like Idris Elba and everybody involved is just not aware of how messy this is.
Yeah, some people are pretty open about it. Like, we know Dame Judi Dench hasn't seen it yet. James Corden is already making fun of it. Like, it's already at the point where even the actors that are involved are even agreeing. It's like, yeah, this thing blows.
Yeah, the Oscars, like, Rebel Wilson came out dressed like a cat. She was aware this movie was a mess.
Yeah. No, but one thing I do want to comment, though, is that a lot of people think that if this butthole cut does exist, if they would bring it out, a lot of people would argue that it would be X-rated or stuff like that it would be a little too explicit. Honestly,
no.
Yeah? No. I would disagree on that, because the thing is, and it might sound crazy, but in truth, when it comes to cat buttholes, they're family friendly, especially when it comes to Universal. It is true, Universal does find cat buttholes to be family friendly. And if you want a legitimate proof of that, I know exactly what it is. I have my perfect proof of this. Behold, The Secret Life of Pets. Or specifically here, this screenshot of The Secret Life of Pets 2. Now, as you can see, this is Chloe. This is the main cat of the movie. And this is a shot where you prominently see her butt that's sticking out. And right over here, get a good close-up. Yes, we're doing a close-up on this. That be a pink butthole here. Right here. You see it? Hold on, back it up so it could be a little more clear and not too pixelized. That is a full-on butthole. So, and keep in mind, this is from a movie that is made for kids, for children to go and see this. And this is not just in Secret Life of Pets 2. They also did that in the first movie as well. So there's no denying that Universal is perfectly fine with having cat buttholes, regardless of who goes to see it. Rather it be adults that are getting high, or even if it's just for children. This is a full-on cat butthole in an animated movie for kids. So if they would do that for something like The Secret Life of Pets, they would absolutely go and do it for something. They would have no problem to do it for cats, especially if it means like, okay, if we're gonna re-release this in theaters, you know, in the style of like The Room and stuff like that people would just make fun of it and have fun, then if there's some profit to find, then they would most certainly would go and do a butthole cut of this.
Oh yeah, it's like, although I will say, I can't imagine this movie was made for kids. Because I can't imagine the kids will be like, oh, I like really my favorite scene was the orgy scene. That was the best.
God.
This movie was made for. I don't know who this was made for. Was it made for fans of the musical? Because nobody in the musical outside of Jennifer Hudson's even that good a singer, and even that it's like a badly auto-tuned version of that.
Not even that. Like, that's the one thing that is uniting the theater community. Regardless if they are lovers or haters of cats, they are working together to say that this movie blows.
Oh yeah, like there was a great article. I think it was with the Mary Sue, where they interviewed like 10 people that were involved with Cats, the musical, from like the original cast, like Betty Buckley downward, and they were all like, "It's a good musical. We really like it." But the film, next question.
Yeah. Not yeah, pretty much it's like the same like just looking at looking at what's behind you. It's pretty much like Paige O'Hara with the Beauty and the Beast remake, or most of the original cast with the Beauty and the Beast remake. They're like, yeah, next question. I have a good relationship with Disney and I want to keep it that way.
Pretty much, except that thing was just a painful nightmare. This one was a glorious nightmare, to the point where I'm like, this really could become like The Room. That's not an exaggeration. I can see midnight screenings of people that just, you dress up in your fursuits and then you throw catnip at certain scenes, and then you just, I don't know, jump on each other during the orgy scene, and like,
exactly.
I can see it. I can see it.
It's gonna be like the next Room, the next The Room or Rocky Horror Picture Show. Well, more The Room, because it's like one of those so bad it's entertaining kind of things. And that's honestly why I feel like if it doesn't exist, then Universal should legit make a butthole cut of Cats. Like, really take advantage of the situation. The movie's already insane as it is. Why not go that, like, you're not going to lose anything if you're going to go that extra mile.
Yeah, there's at this point, why not? It was probably just a glitch in the system originally, but what do you got to lose, man? They're not going to be staring at the tiny little gray butt. They're going to be looking at everything else, the hands, the eyes, the chest, everything.
Oh god, I just realized something. Like, if they would do those screenings and stuff like that, and if there would be a butthole cut of it, oh god, like, it might sound like a really terrible pun, but it would be a case of, like, if you do see a very suggestive image of, like, either a butthole or a fanny, that's when the audience would do catcalling. And I know it's a bad pun,
no.
but that's what people got it. That's what people have to do. You see a butthole?
And I thought Zootopia was going to create a generation of furries. I was wrong. It's this thing.
Oh, no.
Actually, no. Actually, it's going to turn people off from it. Because I remember, I think I read an article that the furry community is even like,
no. Don't bring the furry community into this. They deserve better. They deserve something like Zootopia. They don't deserve frickin' cats.
Nobody deserves cats.
So yeah,
I can only imagine like Ian McKellen. Is Ian McKellen in this again? I forget who's even in this movie anymore.
Ian McKellen's in there.
Yeah, he was in the Beauty and the Beast remake too. Oh, that poor man.
Oh yeah, that is true.
It's like, I mean, he's like,
not really. He was like half there. Like, he was. They barely used Cogsworth.
Yeah, he's checked out in this movie. I think he's aware of what he's in. He's like, look, I can just coax off being Gandalf for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, it's not a Gandalf role, so screw it. I might as well be a cat.
Yeah, I very much await when this film actually comes out and people start doing like dub overs of like lines from like Lord of the Rings, or since Idris Elba's involved, why don't you add in lines from like The Wire or something like that? Just do it. It's not gonna make the movie any less weird. Exactly.
My point is, like, I mean, that's the thing with this, is that I fully support the release the butthole cut movement, because the movie's already insane as it is, and it's not going to hurt it if it becomes even more insane. Like, it's at the point where the more insanity that you would put into it, then the better it is. And I think that's going to be the point where Universal will regain some profitability from this film in the long run.
Oh yeah. And why it's such a good bad film is because it's so sincere. The actors might not have absolutely bought it. I'm sure they were fully aware, but the writing and the directing, they play it so straight. It's like they think they're actually filming a fantastic Broadway show. They're not filming the reincarnation of, like, I don't know, cats. Of cats. I want to say my cats. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, it literally is.
Food fight. Like
Yeah.
food fight, but in somewhat live. It's even a live action film. Can we even call it that?
What?
This is about as live action as The Lion King.
I have no idea, honestly. It's on a league of its own. It's like
all the sets look CGI to me, so I'm like.
It's like the animation of the Treasure Planet. Where do you categorize that? I have no freaking clue.
You know, if they had just randomly given a bomb to like any of these characters, it wouldn't be out of character. It would just be a giant like bomb full of catnip, and then they would just start licking themselves.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, they'll hold it and they're like, "Can I have sex with it?" that could be what would happen.
Like, I came home and I look at my cat. I'm like, oh man. You have no idea what I just went through.
Yeah, oh my, I still cannot wait for the Blu-ray release. I want to own it, man.
I can only say I'm not even giving away the craziest parts.
Oh.
At a point, it's like overwhelming where I'm like, I gotta sit here and think about all the crazy moments. I think it starts from like minute 2, and it's like okay, here's a pull quote for you. It's the Mad Max furry road of terrible movies. It starts off fast, and then it just never lets up until the end, and then you just leave the theater a new human being.
Oh, yeah, that we all go to the Heaviside Lair. That's what the movie needs us to do, for us to all go to the Heaviside Lair. We're all joining Ratchet Jennifer Hudson to go to the Heaviside Lair.
Yeah, it's like the one cat that dies, boy, he got off easy.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyways, go on.
And you don't even know a darn thing about cats. Like, I went in knowing a decent amount of cats. If you knew nothing about cats, this will not change your opinion in the slightest.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, now I want to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, what do you think of the butthole cut of Cats? Would you guys want to see a butthole cut? Do you guys think the butthole cut is real? And do you support the hashtag butthole cut? No, hashtag release the butthole cut. Let's see. Am I dreaming? Cat's butthole cut. Now that will be hilarious. Oh, we got one supporter here. Let's see. It might be fake news, but at least it's fake news that will be worth a few laughs during such trying times. Well, yeah, at the very least, it does serve that. You know, it serves a chuckle. You know, that's the nice thing about it. Let's see now. I'm glad I skipped Cats. It looks so god ugly. I would rather watch The Cat in the Hat 1,000 times more than this movie. I really wish the movie should have been an animated movie that was done by Illumination or DreamWorks Animation. As for the butthole cut, you know what? Give it to me. I don't care anymore. It's like, you know what? Screw it. Fine. Do it. I'm a man. I can take it.
You know, thinking about it, I think Cat in the Hat's actually a very good comparison because of the absolute screwball randomness. Except, controversial opinion, I think Cats is even crazier than that movie. It's like every scene is like the equivalent of like the Cat in the Hat in a dress getting hit in the nuts.
Oh, God. Let's see. This is just insane. I would love to see a butthole cut. Screw the Snyder cut. This and the Sonic Werehog cut are the true cuts we need. Those would be great comedy gold. Exactly. You know, honestly, the funny thing is that I believe that the butthole cut is real more so than the Snyder cut. This is what we need much more.
I do as well. The Snyder cut, it's just a script with probably some half-filmed scenes and like unworked CGI. This is just a movie with like a few glitches that have been axed out. Just go into the hardware and just kind of just delete the patch and then just enjoy. Come on.
Exactly. Honestly, I would be more than happy to reject one person's vision of a failed movie that is hopeless anyways in favor of having cats with buttholes. I need that. Buttholes are much more appealing in this case.
Yes.
I know it sounds weird, and many people might just take that out of context, but this, that's how I feel about it. I want my butthole cut of cats.
Well, there goes your run for prime minister in 20 years.
Oh, well, but then again, Trudeau made it in for much worse.
That's true. It's like, Monsieur Brunet said he like butthole cut. You want to vote for that?
Yes! I'm Prime Minister of Canada. Let's release the butthole cut of cats. I don't know how I'll do it, but that's a promise I'll make.
Sanctions on the U.S. government if you do not deliver the cat's butthole cut in 72 hours.
Exactly. I'll hold America hostage. Until then, we will get our butthole cut.
Imagine you're like the CGI artist. It's like you made it from like, I don't know, Iowa to the big city. You made it into the industry. You're gonna be in a big budget movie with big actors like Ian McKellen, and then you're the guy who had to scrub out the glitched out buttholes in the Cats movie. I'm like, that would be depressing.
Hey, it's the only thing you can do is just react like an appliance from the Flintstones. It's a living.
Oh yes. By the way, I can't wait till the Screen Actors Guild of CGI artists starts protesting this podcast.
Oh, probably. Well, I mean, we're not bashing them. We're not saying the visual effects artists are terrible people. I mean, they're great people. We want to admire their work, and we want to admire how they can craft a cat butthole onto a mutated cat human person thing.
I admire that they got paid for this.
Probably. I'll go and read one more comment here. Big deal. I can get plenty of buttholes on Derpy Buru. I don't know what that is, and I don't even want to know. Also, I know plenty of animals that always show their private undersides. I've seen a pig's milk glands, a mandrill's bright butt, a dog's danglings, and even an elephant's under trunk. And I was a kid when those happened in real life. If you really want to see a cat buttholes, just get a cat and stare at it behind all day. I swear, it's a lot more interesting than the Cats movie. No, I'm not.
No.
You don't know, man. You don't know. But anyways, that should be it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And Tyler, this has been quite a fun adventure. And just out of curiosity, I know you don't necessarily have like a YouTube channel, or maybe you do, I don't know, but like you're not as prominent on the internet or on social media. But if people do want to follow you, do you know where people can?
Yeah, I occasionally write like mini documentaries on like the Midnight's Edge channel of YouTube. It's I don't deal with the politics of that channel. I just do with the many documentaries on the making of film productions. And I think the last one that came out was about canceled DC films, including the original version of Batman Year One by Darren Aronofsky. That was also a bit of a loopy mess. I kind of seen specialized in loopy messes now. I've seen Cats, I've seen that thing. It's like, oh my lord. Yeah. So I make mini documentaries on that channel. I kind of go around just writing stuff. There's a newspaper I write for every week that's Red Dead Redemption 2 themed, called the 5-State Herald. So that's something you can kind of follow me on. I have a lot of fun with that.
Okay. All right, that's nice. I'll ask you later about the links and stuff. But anyways, with all that said, thank you all so much for watching, and thank you all so much for listening. And remember, during these times, always remember 4 major things: to keep calm, don't call it the Chinese virus or the Wuhan virus because it's racist, to practice social distancing, and always wash your hands. So with that said, thank you all so much for watching and listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!
Yeah.